to mid-future, say 2030 to 2050 kind of time space, we're going to see a shift completely to autonomous vehicles. The autonomous vehicles will probably not be owned by us. For the most part, they will be owned by the vehicle manufacturers themselves. It'll be a transportation as a service world. And also we'll have a shift to drones going in what we call today drones. They will be larger, obviously, because they'll take passengers.
It's very hard to say how the world will be in 2050, but what I can do now to make it sure for my son, I have a 1-year-old son, to make sure that we have the best world possible is to focus on the technologies that are basically a win-win solution or a win-win situation, like electric cars. They will make the transportation cheaper, cleaner, better air quality, better sound quality. So everybody will win with that technology.
In 2050, it's a personal thinking. We will not think anymore about mobility, we will have it. And we have much more time to enjoy our life.
In 2050, you're going to see almost, if not entirely, zero emissions for all vehicles. This may be battery electric, but it may also be elements of hydrogen fuel cells. But almost certainly, you will see a dramatic shift away from fossil fuels by 2050. All new vehicles will incorporate some type of low or zero emissions technology. You'll also see perfectly connected vehicles that are able to talk to each other, talk back to home base. They're able to adapt. They're able to kind of change and adapt dynamically with the environment that they're in and optimize their performance.
I have this kind of romantic idea about the future, that the 2050s will be a bit like the 1950s. That sounds weird, but I mean that in the 50s, the streets were empty, there were no cars, and now as we look out here, the streets are packed with cars, and that will, I think the car will slowly disappear a bit, and legislation will come in favor of bicycles and pedestrians. So I hope that in say 30 years there will be less cars, fewer cars, and more room for people to live, so we can create livable cities again.
I think, simply put, advanced connectivity in terms of vehicles, hand in hand with obviously advanced levels of autonomy, and it's going to be an interesting world to live in if you and I are both around in that stage.
It's going to be a more integrated world, a better world, let's say less CO2 emissions, less fatality, human beings having more time to enjoy life, and also by enjoying life, they're going to use this technology and the whole mobility possibilities to improve their lifetime time, and also through technology have a better exposure with the time, with the work, with the family. So I believe it's going to be a better world, but this needs to be very well integrated. That is the challenge.
I think I see a world which is much more integrated, where data and energy acts as almost like the blood in the body of mobility. I see things being much more integrated and much more seamless, with common payment systems and an approach whereby you can travel from A to B seamlessly.
We need to automate more. We're able to pull data from more and more things, whether it's the battery, the power electronics, the grid, maybe the tariffs or the rates, the utility rates that are out there. And it all changes. Maybe we'll have it to where it ebbs and flows with the change in weather, the time of day, the type of battery it is. I mean, the batteries get bigger and bigger, and somehow this has all got to be automated to where you don't have issues from the grid standpoint or from the battery standpoint. You have to charge batteries safely, and that's we're going to make sure we build technology to do that.
Long term, then I think you will be sitting on the highway, sitting back, and your vehicle will be, taking you from A to B, and you will be a passenger, even if normally you would be used to sitting behind the wheel. In terms of the technology here, it's moving so quickly. And ultimately, that for me is one of the most exciting things. We are in an exciting time, in a changing time. And it's something that I think will be for the benefit of all of us, because you will have choices.
My picture is that I can wake up in the morning and tell my whole management system that I need to be in Berlin by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I will receive right away from mobility integrating platform the best itinerary considering all my preferences. And my journey most likely will consider also a passenger drone trip.
And anyway, the mobility industry have to respond to where the human beings will be in 2050. I think it's a very exciting sprint that we all have to do, and I still feel positive about it.
Yeah, to me, 2050 is like a fascinating place that even extends what we know about today. And I happen to believe that we keep the joy in transportation, but it maybe takes some different forms. It's more fun, it's flexible. In fact, we see that in our clients a lot, and I believe that is that it might be different things to people around the world, whether you're in an urban area or in a rural environment, but ultimately fun, efficient transportation that makes people's lives better.
When we look at the long term, it's impossible to separate e-mobility from smart cities. So eventually the city and connected vehicles and artificial intelligence and autonomous vehicles will all kind of merge and fuse together. So we'll actually be living in a world that might resemble what you saw in Epcot Center at Disney World some 20 or 30 years ago. The vehicles will be self-propelled. We'll have a lot more time on our hands, and there will be activities that we'll do in the vehicles that instead of driving, it will make better use of our time. We'll have more leisure, and everybody will enjoy quality of life much more during that phase.
When I see politicians and leaders still debating whether climate change is a risk to the planet and to our society, I see 2050, we're not debating it anymore. What we're all embracing are the evolution of technology and innovation to find new and better ways to help the planet and reduce the risk. So for me, my vision of 2050 is every company embraces the mindset that we have of a zero emissions goal.
I think in 2050, we're going to look back and we're going to say the same thing we say about the 50s and the 60s, when essentially everybody smoked cigarettes. We're going to look back. Some people still smoke for, they enjoy it, right? That's fine. But not everybody, not across the board. And we're going to look back in 2050 and we're going to say, we used to drive those EVs. We used to stand on the street and watch these diesel trucks and buses go by and emit these fumes that we would breathe in. We're going to look back and we're going to say, we were nuts.